Stop watching this video if you're waiting for permission. Because no one is coming to approve your success. No mentor, no investor, no savior. And here's the cold truth most people can't handle. The men who get rich alone don't ask for help. They remove dependence. What I'm about to show you isn't motivational. It's dangerous. And if you apply it, you'll never fit in again. Comment, lone wolf. If you're done asking for validation and ready to build on your own terms. Chapter 1. The Lie of Permission. Why most men stay broke. There's a lie that keeps men poor longer than bad luck ever could. It sounds reasonable, responsible, even intelligent. The lie is this: I just need the right opportunity, the right support, the right approval. And that lie is poison. From the moment you're young, you're trained to wait. Wait for grades, wait for credentials, wait for someone more powerful to say yes. Machiavelli understood this trap centuries ago. He watched capable men fail not because they lacked skill, but because they waited for legitimacy instead of seizing leverage. Power, he observed, is rarely granted. It is taken, consolidated, and defended. Yet modern men are taught the opposite. They're taught to be likable, to be cooperative, to be agreeable, to ask before acting. And that's exactly why they stay dependent. Let's talk about the real pain you feel, but probably never say out loud. You work hard, yet money feels just out of reach. You watch less disciplined men win. Through confidence, positioning, or timing. You feel capable, but stuck. And deep down, you're frustrated, because you know you could do more. If someone just noticed you. That feeling is dangerous, because it trains you to look outward instead of inward. Machiavelli would call this a fatal error. He believed the man who relies on others for advancement builds his future on unstable ground. All alliances are temporary, all approval is conditional, and when conditions change, so does support. History proves this over and over. Men who rose through favor fell when favor disappeared. Men who rose through self-built power survived storms, enemies, and betrayal. Now pause for a second. This next part is crucial. Here's what most men never realize. Waiting for help doesn't make you safer. It makes you weaker. Because while you're waiting, time is extracting interest from your life. Every year you delay independence, you deepen dependency. And the world rewards dependency with control. Think about it. If your income depends on approval, you'll avoid risk. If your survival depends on acceptance, you'll suppress ambition. If your identity depends on belonging, you'll fear standing alone. That's not security, that's captivity. Machiavelli saw this clearly. He warned that those who rise by the strength of others stand on borrowed legs, and borrowed legs collapse when support is withdrawn. So what separates the lone wolf from the herd? The lone wolf accepts an uncomfortable truth early. No one owes him anything. No validation, no encouragement, no fairness. And instead of resenting that truth, he weaponizes it. He stops asking, "Who will help me?" and starts asking, "What can I control?" This shift is everything, because wealth is not built by consensus. It's built by clarity, leverage, and action. Let me make this painfully clear. You don't get rich by being understood. You get rich by being effective. You don't need permission to start learning high-value skills. You don't need approval to save aggressively, invest strategically, or build something quietly. You don't need applause to execute. But most men crave validation more than results. They want someone to say, "You're doing the right thing." They want reassurance. They want certainty. Machiavelli would say that certainty is an illusion sold to keep you obedient, because the men who build alone accept uncertainty as the cost of freedom. Here's a modern example. Two men start with the same background, same intelligence, same potential. One waits for the perfect plan. The other starts with what he has. One asks friends and family for opinions. The other studies outcomes. One avoids embarrassment. The other embraces invisibility. Fast forward 5 years. One is still explaining his ideas. The other doesn't explain. He decides. This is where the lone wolf path begins. Not with confidence, not with money, but with a decision. A decision to stop outsourcing belief. Because belief borrowed from others evaporates under pressure. Belief forged through action compounds. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. Going alone will cost you comfort. You'll be misunderstood, questioned, sometimes mocked. But Machiavelli warned that appearing weak to avoid conflict invites greater danger later. So the lone wolf accepts short-term discomfort for long-term sovereignty. He doesn't announce his moves. He doesn't ask for consensus. He doesn't explain delays or justify ambition. He studies, he executes, he compounds. And while others debate ethics, fairness, and timing, he builds, silently, relentlessly. Now, here's the cliffhanger you need to understand before we move forward. Chapter 2, The Lone Wolf Strategy, How Wealth is Built Without Help. If Chapter 1 stripped away the illusion, this chapter installs the weapon. Because going alone is not about isolation. It's about control. Machiavelli never admired the man who rejected people out of pride. He admired the man who never depended on them for survival. That distinction changes everything. Now pause for a second. This next part is crucial. Most men think wealth comes from motivation, hustle, or luck. Machiavelli would disagree. He understood that wealth follows positioning, not effort. Effort without leverage exhausts you. Leverage without noise multiplies you. So here are the core rules a lone wolf follows. Rules that feel uncomfortable because they remove emotional safety. If someone can stop you, you don't own it. A job can be revoked. Approval can be withdrawn. Access can be blocked. The lone wolf builds in places where entry is open, but mastery is rare. Skills, knowledge, distribution, ownership. Machiavelli warned that power granted by others exists only at their pleasure. True power is self-sustaining. That means you choose paths where no committee can vote you out. Learning a monetizable skill alone. Building an audience quietly. Creating assets that function without supervision. This is why lone wolves often look behind at first. They're not visible. They're not celebrated. They're not validated. But they are uninterruptible. This is where most men fail. They chase more money without reducing dependency, so every dollar they earn already has a destination. Rent, debt, lifestyle expectations, social pressure. Machiavelli understood that a man burdened by needs is easy to control. The lone wolf does the opposite. He cuts expenses aggressively. He simplifies his life. He lowers his baseline. Not because he's afraid of spending, but because freedom compounds faster when your costs are low. Here's the forbidden truth most people ignore. A man with low needs and moderate income is more powerful than a man with high income and high obligations. Because the first can walk away, the second cannot, and whoever can walk away holds leverage. Machiavelli warned against revealing intent too early. Why? Because early exposure invites interference. People don't attack your success. They attack your potential. They discourage you. They question you. They project fear onto you. The lone wolf understands this and says nothing. He doesn't announce goals. He doesn't seek encouragement. He doesn't need accountability partners. He uses results as proof. Silence protects momentum, and momentum is fragile in the early stages. Now pause again. This is where most men lose the game. Time is your only non-renewable resource, and distraction is the most efficient way to steal it. The lone wolf treats time like capital. He asks one ruthless question every day. Does this move me closer to independence, or keep me dependent? Endless. Content consumption? Dependency. Social approval loops? Dependency. Busy work that feels productive but builds nothing? Dependency. Machiavelli believed discipline was not moral, it was strategic. You don't need motivation, you need structure. Clear blocks of focused effort, clear boundaries around attention, clear priorities tied to leverage. This is why lone wolves often feel bored. Boredom means distractions are dying. This one is subtle and deadly. Most men tie their identity to a role. I am an employee. I am a student. I am an entrepreneur. And when that role is threatened, they panic. Machiavelli would call this foolish. Identity should never limit strategy. The lone wolf builds options, multiple skills, multiple income streams, multiple exits. Not all at once, but sequentially. He doesn't cling to labels. He adapts. Because flexibility is power. Rigid men break under pressure. Adaptive men survive and then dominate. Here's a shocking stat that ruins most men's plans. Studies consistently show that people massively overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10. The lone wolf flips this. He expects slow progress. He accepts invisibility. He commits to daily execution without emotional reward. Machiavelli knew that patience outlasts aggression. You don't need explosive wins. You need inevitable ones. Small actions, repeated daily, compounded quietly. This is how men suddenly become wealthy. It was never sudden. This rule alone will save you years. If someone isn't building with you, they don't get an opinion. The lone wolf doesn't debate his plans. He doesn't justify his sacrifices. He doesn't seek understanding. Machiavelli warned that explaining yourself to those without power over your outcome weakens your position. Silence preserves authority. Results end conversations. Now, here's the transformation point. If you apply these rules, something strange happens. Chapter 3: Execution without approval. The Lone Wolf. Wealth Protocol. Everything you've heard so far means nothing if it stays theoretical. Machiavelli despised men who understood power, but never used it. So this chapter is not inspiration, it's execution. If you apply what follows, you will begin separating from 90% of people within weeks, not socially, but strategically. Now, listen carefully. Before money changes, your internal hierarchy must change. Right now, most men subconsciously rank other people above themselves. Employers, family expectations, social approval, fear of judgment. Machiavelli would call this self-enslavement. So today, you make one decision. No one's comfort matters more than my future. This doesn't mean becoming cruel. It means becoming non-negotiable. You stop asking, will they approve? You start asking, does this increase my leverage? Every decision runs through that filter. This alone will make people uncomfortable because independence threatens fragile systems. Good. The lone wolf does not scatter effort. Most men fail because they chase 10 paths badly. Choose one. A high-income skill, a scalable business model, a long-term asset-building path, and commit to it for at least 12 months. No pivoting because it's hard. No quitting because progress is slow. Machiavelli understood that consistency beats brilliance. Your edge is not intelligence. It's persistence without emotional drama. Motivation is unreliable. Structure is permanent. Your day needs 3 non-negotiable blocks. Creation block, building something that compounds. Learning block, sharpening the weapon. Maintenance block, body, mind, and environment. Everything else is secondary. Social media, optional. Entertainment, limited. Validation, irrelevant. If it doesn't strengthen you, it waits. This is monk discipline, not isolation, but focus with intent. You don't need to tell people you're grinding. You just become unavailable. Less talking, less explaining, fewer reactions. Machiavelli warned that attention attracts resistance, so you move quietly. You don't post progress. You don't argue opinions. You don't seek applause. Silence becomes your camouflage. And here's the paradox. The quieter you become, the more powerful your presence feels. Forget big breaks. The lone wolf stacks unsexy wins. One new skill mastered, one connection built strategically, one asset improved, one weakness eliminated daily. This compounds faster than motivation ever could. Most men need praise to continue. You will learn to continue without it. That's the difference. This is where most men destroy themselves. They upgrade life before upgrading freedom. New expenses, new dependencies, new obligations. The lone wolf does the opposite. He builds an exit first. Enough savings, enough income control, enough leverage. Only then does he expand. Machiavelli knew. Luxury before security creates vulnerability. Power before pleasure, always. This part isn't negotiable. When you stop seeking approval, some people disappear. When you stop explaining, some relationships fade. When you stop depending, some connections break. That's not failure, that's filtering. Machiavelli wrote that a man who seeks greatness must accept isolation, because most people don't want freedom. They want comfort, and comfort hates discipline. So if you feel alone at times, understand this. You are not lonely. You are early. Let's end where we began. You don't get rich by being liked. You don't get powerful by being understood. You don't win by asking permission. You win by building quietly, by choosing discipline over emotion, by standing alone long enough to stand unchallenged. Machiavelli didn't teach morality. He taught reality. And the reality is this. The man who controls himself eventually controls his environment. If this hit harder than expected, that's a sign. Comment, lone wolf, if you're ready to stop waiting for approval. If you want more strategies like this, dark, real, and effective, subscribe now, not for motivation, for precision. And remember, they won't notice when you disappear, but they'll never forget when you return.